Hey everybody and welcome to the Bullshit Party. And in this one we're going to be taking a closer look at the new Podium vehicle, the Pfister 811. We are going to be going over the exterior of the car, its features, the performance, and its customization options. First things first, there's no going around the fact that this car was very inspired by the Porsche 918. And it's no secret that I'm a very big fan of how the Porsche 918 looks. Rear perfect, side profile perfect. And speaking of that side profile, let's see how interactive the car is. And I'm very happy to say that you can open both doors on the car and the giant rear hood. This thing is absolutely massive. I wonder if it's gonna fall off on its own if I crash somewhere, but with my shoddy driving history, that's probably gonna be happening sooner rather than later. And the more observant of you probably saw that you can't open the front trunk, which is fine by me for this car particularly. And a quick look at the interior and the engine start sound. So apparently just like the real world car, this one is gonna be a hybrid. And as we take off to Los Santos Customs, it's time to answer the question, is it rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or, God forbid, front-wheel drive? And I'm very happy to say that the 811 is all-wheel drive. But at this point, I have no idea what to expect, since the other electric car that I've driven is the Cyclone Coil. And that one also sort of an electric car, it's all-wheel drive, and it's so much fun to drift. I actually made a video with it in the other 4 top cars that I've won from the Podium vehicle about a week ago, and I'm gonna place it right here so you can watch it if you want to. But back to the 811, as you can see, I'm doing my best to just mess with the car and do whatever I can to make sure it loses traction. Even though it did lose traction on a couple of times, which of course any car would, it was very predictable and planted on the road, so it was very easy to control. And even though we're working right now with the stock version of the car, it feels fantastic. Well, that was just bound to happen. Well, at least that answers our question from earlier. Yes, it's possible for the rear hood to fall off on its own. And no joke, at this point I was prepared to say only an idiot can crash this car, but apparently an idiot did. And just to elaborate on what I was talking about a little bit earlier, the car feels very good. It almost feels upgraded. Every aspect except the brakes. As you can see, the brakes aren't the best, and I believe even with the upgrade, they're not gonna be that good. But there's only one way to find out, and that's upgrading the car, customizing it, and seeing what we have afterwards. And just like with every other review video that I've done, of course, first we're gonna take care of the damage, and then upgrade all the performance options up front. That way, we don't forget anything, and we're ready to customize the car. And as we're going through the options, I'd like to thank you for clicking on the video, and hopefully you enjoy it. And if that's the case, please consider liking it. It's a cliche, but it really does help out the channel a lot. And since we're done with the turbo, that marks an end to the performance options, so next we go for the front bumper. The front bumper selection is pretty limited in my opinion, but I have to give the game some slack because this is an older car. It was released a couple of years ago from what I remember. So it's not gonna have all the flashy, cool, new customization options that the new vehicles have. But to be fair, specifically for the exhaust options, even though limited, I'm very happy with them. Next up the plate, of course, we need to make it black. We're gonna respray the car last thing before we leave the garage, but first we need to choose what kind of roof we want on the car. And seeing how it's one of the only convertibles in the game, I'm gonna leave it without a roof. And just wanted to point out that this in fact is the Podium vehicle. You see 89,000 because of all the upgrades I've invested in it so far. Something that I should have done in the beginning, but well, you live you learn. Speaking of learning and living, carbon is always good, so we're gonna go with the carbon option for the skirt. The spoiler option, at least in my opinion, is a little bit frustrating since I don't see any physical difference between the two options. But we are getting extra grip with the low level spoiler, so let's go with that one. The suspension option is interesting since even on the lowest setting we have a lot of room between the wheel and the wheel well. Not complaining, just observing. And speaking of wheels and wheel wells, it's time to customize the wheels. I really like the stock wheels, but the thing about them is that you can't really change their color. So after going through some horrific options in the street category, I mosey it off to the high-end wheels so we can choose a nice set of wheels for this car. I really like the Shadow, but it's a bit overused, so we're gonna go with the Blade for this one. And next up we have the window tint. And if you're a regular viewer of mine, you know that I like to do the light smoke tint on all my windows. But since in this case we are talking about a convertible, I decided to go tintless for the windows. Tintless. Is that a word? Anyway, back to the car and it's time to change its color. And for that, I'm gonna go to a poll that I posted a couple of days ago asking you guys, the viewers, of what color I should make my car. And the choices were red, blue, black, green, and of course, pink. And if pink had won, it actually would have been appropriate since we have a Pfister pink primary color option. But it didn't, Ultra Blue did. So we're gonna be making this car Ultra Blue. And I'm going so slow because I wasn't sure if Ultra Blue was in fact a real color. But to my pleasant surprise, not only it was a real color, but it was a pretty nice color as well. And this color was actually suggested by one of my viewers on last week's Podium vehicle review. So now is your chance to suggest the color for next week's car. The top 5 colors with the most votes are gonna be selected to be in the poll that I'm gonna post on either Monday or Tuesday next week. Please don't select pink, but saying that probably will make you select it even more, so I'm gonna use reverse psychology and say, I want pink, please select pink. Again, I really like how the car looks with Ultra Blue, but I don't really see it matching well with the other color. So when in doubt, use black. And for once I'm following my own advice. And the last thing we need to do before exiting the workshop is choosing a color for the rims. In hindsight, probably choosing a color like yellow or orange would have been a good idea, but at the time of recording this, I was thinking I want everything to match. So I chose a color that came as close as possible to the primary color of the car, which is again Ultra Blue. All in all, being able to see the car up and close like this has made me appreciate the effort the designers put into it even that much more. As I said in the opening of the video, I'm a big fan of the original car, the 918 Porsche. Let's just hope performance-wise, this one can match it. So let's go outside and see what this one can do. And I'm curious to know, what do you guys think of the car? You chose the color, do you like it? What would you rate it from 1 to 10, 1 being horrible, 10 being, well, awesome? Wait, what happened with this being a hybrid? I don't know if this is because of the performance options we upgraded, or I was just slowly going deaf before we entered Los Santos Customs, but the car sounds like a beast now. It has a very distinctive high-pitched tone that I don't think is gonna translate well through video. But I've been wrong before, so here we go. I would have to say that my original predictions about how the car would drive and handle were completely on point. It handles and behaves a lot like the Coil Cyclone. And again, for those of you who don't know, the Coil Cyclone is an exclusively electric car with all-wheel drive. This is an all-wheel drive hybrid, but it handles sort of like a rear-wheel drive car that has, I don't know, a lot of traction control. Except for there. No, but seriously, it's super fun to just throw it around a corner and see what happens. My guess is that most of the time you'll be able to catch it and do an awesome drift with it. If you've ever driven, or have been driven in, an electric car before, it sort of feels like that. Instant acceleration and a good top speed. And let's just not mention the brakes. Yeah, they leave a lot to be desired, but you can't have it all. Oops. So to recap it all, the car has great acceleration, very good top speed, can corner like a champ, and it looks and sounds amazing. And if you're watching this video in the week it was made, then this is still the Podium car. And if that's the case, I strongly urge you to go get it and get this awesome car. If you had to buy it for $1.2 million, I'd say it's still a go. It's an awesome car. I promise you that you'll have a lot of fun with it, even compared to a lot more expensive cars. And with that fantastic showcase of driving prowess, it's time to end the video. Thank you to everyone who watched. Don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber, and I'll catch you in the next one. And as a little bit of a bonus at the end, I decided to include this part in the video. The 811 wasn't meant for off-roading, but because of the all-wheel drive system it has, it definitely can do it.